Morning again. Today we're going to be talking about or exploring the concept of sacred space. What is it? What happens there? Is there a there? Can we even describe sacred space and what occurs? When I first started in Unity, I thought in a very literal way about sacred space. For me, it was a designated area in my house where I could be alone and close out the outer world, a place where I could experience peace, healing, a place where no one would intrude and where I could read and listen to healing music and meditate in silence. I gathered different candles, a CD player, several stones or rocks, a daily word, as well as several pillows and a comfy throw. I wasn't really certain what to expect, but somehow this designated space helped me to pause, to take myself apart, and to disconnect from the physical. Well, I discovered that many people create a similar place of sacred space. It could be a whole room, or perhaps a space within their bedroom or study that has some kind of altar or area complete with spiritual symbols and maybe even plants, photos, or paintings. Each day, I would take time in this private room to read and to meditate, and I would leave feeling peaceful, refreshed. Sometimes the experience would be ecstatic and deeply moving. Other times, the experience would simply be peaceful, calming. I would never know what to expect. I also realized that I could never repeat an experience. If I had to give a definition, I might have said that sacred space is where I gave myself permission to become conscious of the divine. But it would still be several years before I really gave thought to what sacred means to me. What does it mean to you? What do others mean by sacred space? And what really happens in our sacred space? Comparative mythology and religion professor Joseph Campbell has a fairly simple yet profound definition. Your sacred space is where you can find yourself again and again. I don't think he means the physical or external you, but perhaps the inner or spiritual you, the Christ you. The you that believes or wants to believe that you are a spiritual being, creating or having this human experience. So your sacred space could be your physical location, but it seems that the more important aspect is what happens there. What do you discover, learn, understand? New Thought author Wayne Dyer says that gratitude is a sacred space where you allow and know that a force greater than your ego is always at work and always available. So again, we're not talking about a particular geographic or physical space, but here an inner space filled with a faith that is fueled by gratitude and simply knows that there is something more than me, more expansive than me. And we have this very deep explanation by Romanian historian of religion, Moshe Iladeh. And he says, the experience of sacred space makes possible the founding of the world, where the sacred manifests itself in space. The real universe unveils itself. The world comes into existence. Well, this statement certainly needs to be teased apart a bit. And when we do, perhaps we find that he might be saying that the experience of sacred space allows us to have a transcendent or mystical experience, an experience of something beyond the physical world, something of the divine. And each time we come to dwell in this sacred space, we are confronted by the same mysterious, mystical act, the manifestation or realization of something of a wholly different order or different reality. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore often refers to Psalm 91 in the Hebrew Bible in talking about sacred space. And Psalm 91 says, "He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom will I trust?" Now, metaphysically, when we know the word Lord means law, spiritual law. In his book, Jesus Christ Heals, Mr. Fillmore writes that the spiritual center of the soul is the secret place of the Most High. And all the defense and power mentioned in the 91st Psalm is promised to the one who dwells in the consciousness or awareness of the Almighty within, perhaps in your sacred space. But then he goes on to quote from the first book of Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 19. "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own." So in some way, this physical body is itself a sacred space, a gateway, a doorway to an awareness or deeper comprehension of the divine. Your body, your mind, your heart is sacred space. Time spent within is time spent with the divine. Both Charles and Myrtle Fillmore emphasize the need for time within, saying that silent meditation needs to be a daily personal practice. It's a prayer practice. In his book, Christian Healing, Mr. Fillmore advised us to have a daily half hour of meditation so we can open our minds to a consciousness of the inner one. In his book, Keep a True Lent, he says that persistent meditation on the truth opens the mind to a greater inflow of spirit. Meditation for both of them was a personal, subjective experience of the individual's understanding of oneness, and to hopefully consciously enter into awareness of the divine. For the Fillmores, sacred space is an inner region to be explored, experienced, and valued. For without it, we could not fully know who we are, nor develop our spiritual powers. In fact, early Unity author, Dr. Emily Cady, in her book, Lessons in Truth, states that in daily meditation lies the secret of power. No one can grow in either spiritual knowledge or spiritual power without it. And so as I continued to read and research, it came to me that while this secret this sacred space can be a geographical or specific physical place. Its more important meaning is its revealing and transformative possibilities within me, you. It is compelling that so many different people from many different perspectives have all been drawn to this inner sacred space without really being able to understand it or even to describe it. There is something within us that just knows, that intuitively is drawn within, that feels a sense of being home or being at one with, or just being at peace. There is something within us that directs us inward for true healing and deeper understanding. Well, does all of this mean that you shouldn't have a physical sacred space somewhere where you live? Absolutely not. We live in this very physical world, and it's so easy to forget. We forget there is more than the physical, that we are more than the physical. I often need a visual cue to remind me, oh, I could have had a meditation. Yes. And so take time this week to think about, what does the word sacred mean to you? What is the purpose of your sacred physical space, if you have one? Or perhaps, should you create one? How can you continue to grow spiritually and truly remember who you are? For you are an amazing, wonderful, marvelous spiritual being, creating and having this human experience. And when you do spend time in daily meditation, make some notes of the experience, about your understandings, about this incredible inner spiritual journey of the sacred. This week, I see you exploring your sacred space in the physical and in the spiritual, and embracing all the wonder, mystery, and promise of the sacred. Namaste.